So we are back under the motion of approval of the minutes and agenda. Any further changes to approval to the agenda minutes? Matthew?
Item 4.2, we have talked together with Daniel and decided to move the recorded appointment.
Yeah, and that's why we struck it. We struck the appointments until next week. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Yes.
Concerning the minutes, it's a small thing. My name is slightly misspelled.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fine.
Any additional comments? Questions? All right. Perfect. All those in favor of approving the agenda and minutes as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right. Perfect. Moving on to open forum and public announcement. Is there anybody that'd like to make an announcement on any item that is not on the agenda? Trey.
Bubblegum Dance Show, June 1st and 2nd. We're currently doing pre-sale tickets for $20. If you want to come to the afternoon.
Perfect. Any more discussion? Anybody? Perfect. I guess
Last question?
Yes.
20 or 25?
20.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Moving down to 4.1 resignations. We do have one resignation. It's from Zion. Zion has a class conflict. He'll no longer be able to perform his duties as is needed. Because we don't have a projector, I will read to you his resignation letter. Dear council members, please accept this as a formal notice of my resignation from the position of student senator, effective immediately. Working for the student government has been a wonderful experience. I feel privileged to have been part of the team and will miss all of my colleagues. I appreciate both professional and personal growth opportunities that have been provided to me during my time with the ASFC. I hope all of the new leaders will have a great year. I wish ASFC continued success in the future. Sincerely, Zion. Do I have a motion? Matthew?
I move to accept the resignation of Senator Zion.
Seconded by Timothy. I saw his hand. Moving on to discussion. Myself?
I was just trying to ask if I need to resign before I
You
can do it after this.
just hold that question. It's a good question. We'll move that to that in a moment. Any further discussion on the resignation for Zion? All right. Moving down to a vote. All those in favor of approving the resignation of Zion as senator, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right. Perfect. So we have one appointment for VP of OBD. Wesley will be running for that position to be appointed today. He's currently in another position as Vice Finance Director of OBD. Protocol has typically been resigning here and then moving, correct? Or does once he's appointed, is he automatically just moved?
You can apply for the position and then submit his resignation.
Okay, that's what we'll do then. So would you like to come forward then, Wesley?
Okay. So do I resign first?
No, you were going to appoint him first. So yeah, please.
Okay. So hello everybody. So I'm Wesley Alexander. I'm currently appointed as the OBD Finance Director, as you all know. And although I'm still relatively new, I've been trying my best, to contribute to the fullest to the OBD and make up for the vacancies in the board. And although sadly without the presence and guidance of an idea, my boss, my mentor, and a friend of mine. And since the beginning of this quarter, I've been under Nadia's guidance, trying to keep the OBD board in one piece, and I wouldn't like to see the OBD board to fall apart without Nadia's presence, as you all know, Nadia's resignation recently. So yeah, I hope I can continue to serve the ASFC as the VP of OBD, of course with all your blessing and your guidance. And I'm aware that I lack the experience and but I'm willing to work hard and learn more from you guys. Thank you.
Go ahead and turn the microphone around to prevent us from asking questions. So let's have a motion first.
I move to appoint Wesley Alexandra as the VP OBD of the spring 2012.
Seconded by Khalid. moving to discussion. Tommy? Oh, yes.
So what are you going to do as the VP of OBD for the remaining quarter, and will you come back to OBD next year?
As you know, I just ran for the senator position for the ASFC, and unfortunately, if I'm appointed the senator position, then I wouldn't be able to continue in the OBD. But if knock on wood, I lose the senator position, then I will happily, serve the OBD again.
Any more discussion, questions, comments? Anybody? Perfect. Seeing none, let's move down to a vote. All those in favor of appointing Wesley as VP of OBD for the remainder of this year? You do?
Just call it.
Getting ahead of himself.
Okay. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, congrats.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving down, line item 5, nothing, under old business or new business. In President's Cabinet, we discussed the establishment of a code review committee that will be separate from the bylaw review committee. We have a list of names. I won't say the names now. I'm going to I would recommend to the council for a motion to establish a codes review committee, and we will allow people to come to the meeting, determine the membership and the voting structure, and then we'll bring that proposal back to council either next week or the following week. So may I have a motion? Timothy.
I move to set point.
Establish.
ASFC Code Review Committee and ASFC Bylaw Review.
Just
Or just one.
Yeah, just
Okay.
a
ASFC Code Review Committee only for the following spring quarter 2012.
Do I have a second? Second by Jocelyn. Moving on to discussion. Questions? Anything? All right, moving on to a vote. All those in favor of establishing an ASFC Code Review Committee, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, thank you. And so we'll set out a time that we'll meet first, and then anybody who's interested in joining the committee, we'll establish the rules, the chairs, all that stuff. Moving on to 6.2, ASFC Bylaw Review Committee. We met. Quite a few people showed up. People were enthusiastic. It was very nice. There's confusion regarding the structure of this committee as well. So I'm going to recommend that we devolve authority to establish, to determine voting membership and structure of this committee, to reopen that up to the committee itself tomorrow, and then we'll present what they decide to the to council either next week or the week following. So may I have a motion? Timothy, you're the guy. Go ahead.
I move, but I have a question.
Oh, please, yes.
You just said that construction rights of committee, but I think that it should be decided by ASFC VP of Administration. Because according to the now bylaw, the bylaw review committee, the chair should be the VP of Administration.
So, with your understanding of the bylaws, because my understanding, and Jarrell, I know that you know the bylaws as well. Is that accurate?
Sorry.
The establishment of the bylaw review committee, that's an ad hoc committee, meaning we determine.
It's an ad hoc committee.
So, no.
You can determine the members and the time.
Yeah, we'll determine the chair and the members, and I'm not saying we're going to take the chair away from Tommy, but I'm just saying that we want to really establish firm rules for the bylaw committee, the voting members, just the structure itself. Just clearly articulate it, because there's a lot of confusion as to who's actually a member and who's not. Okay? So that's what I explained.
So now, I move to establish ASFC Bylaw Review Committee for the following spring quarter 2012.
Before I get a second, if you could add something along the lines of establishing the rules regarding the committee and then presenting it back to council. Add it on there, tack it on there.
So I move to establish the rules and what?
Rules and formal structure of the committee.
Formal structure of Bylaw Review Committee for the following spring quarter 2012.
Seconded by Marcel. Moving on to discussion. Any discussion? Perfect. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, perfect. Adopted. And then tomorrow we're having a meeting at 2:30. So all those that are interested in officially joining the committee, please come. I can't guarantee everybody will. Altos room. I can't guarantee everybody will receive a voting position, but we want as much conversation around it as possible, so we encourage everybody to come to both the bylaw review committee and the post committee. Moving down to 6.3, information discussion. Tommy, please.
Can I move back to approval of agenda minutes?
You may. Do you move to?
Second.
Seconded by Timothy. Moving on to discussion. Why?
The minutes is for the election committee is not accurate.
I'm sorry?
The minutes written on the elections committee for the minutes is not accurate.
Okay. Could you let Liz know what's wrong with them?
The voting at Middlefield is not confirmed. It has been.
All right. Well, before we do that, moving on to a vote. All those in favor of moving back up to the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. All right. We're back up there. So what's wrong?
Okay, so for the elections committee official polling hours, the ASFC Smart Shop is firm, but the Middlefield voting is not confirmed, so it is only a suggestion.
Okay.
I know.
Perfect. All right. Excellent. Thank you. So anything else under minutes before we move on? Okay. So all those in favor of amending the minutes as approved, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, excellent. Moving down, yes, Mark.
Mr. President, may I please be excused for a second to go to the restroom?
You may. Thank you. 6.3, information discussion, moving back down to the budget. So we have a lot of discussion regarding this. This is primarily why we're here. Everybody will be allotted time to speak. As long as it doesn't get out of hand, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to finish what you have to say. So we'll open it up for discussion, and then let's move down to the items on the agenda, and we'll discuss those individually as well. So I know that there are concerns regarding the way the budget initially was formulated. So we'll allow people who have comments regarding that to speak first. Yes, John.
Mr. Chair, we have a mic, two mics here. One is potentially a pro mic, one is potentially a con mic. But for just having general discussion, I'm wondering how would you like to arrange that and arrange the order of speaking?
Well, initially that was in the event that we had a larger crowd, and seeing that we currently only have voting members. You are more than welcome to stand up and use a microphone if you'd like. There's
I'd
no
like to ask, should we line up behind the microphone or should we raise our hands in the audience?
Use the mic. Yeah, we'll use the mic, but I would say stand up at least. And if you have when we're in the order to discuss a line item, if you have a pro or a con, let's have pro on my right, so your left, and con on your left. So that's what we'll do. Con, pro. Cool? For the line items. But when it comes to, no, in a little bit, as soon as Mark is back. But when it comes to comments regarding the process by which it took place, raise your hand if you'd like to speak, then proceed to stand up at one of the microphones.
Can you wait until he comes back? He doesn't know about this.
Please.
I'm wondering, are we starting discussion on our current progress in the budget?
We are going to start discussion under complaints regarding the budget.
Complaints regarding the budget.
Did you repeat the same thing you said because you just came right now?
Who, Mark?
To him.
What? Tell them what?
Oh, you just guys talked about the pro and con thing.
Would you explain it to them?
I won't be able to. I really do understand what that is.
All right, so when we discuss the budget, the line items on the budget, people who have a pro remark for a particular thing want to get up and say, yes, I am in favor of this. In the motion that we're under, stand here and speak there and form a line. Those that are opposed to the action at question, stand here at this microphone. Cool, Mark? Anybody?
And also tell them about the questions. You said in questions and discussion, just raise your hand and you can go to the mic.
So regarding the information only before we move to the budget items and discussion under there. If you have comments regarding the procedure that took place for the budget throughout this year, raise your hand. We'll be called upon you to get up then. All right. So let's just keep it orderly because we don't know how long people are going to speak for. Okay.
Well, if we're beginning this discussion on the budget, I'd like to make an introduction and then bring up an issue.
Please.
Okay. Thank you. So I think the working. Okay. So I think that the most of the discussion in these next couple of weeks is going to be regarding the major salary allocation that we have remaining on our budget, which would be the intramurals program. I looked up the term intramurals, and the definition of it is simply programs that involve only students on a college campus. So this can be very broad. When we're thinking about what we want this position to do, we can assign it duties that are beyond the athletics. I think that's important. We've made the association with the intramurals program and with athletics specifically. But when we have events like dances and simply student-run events, we can consider that all part of intramurals. And before we go into discussion about it, I'd like Denise Sweat, if it's all right, for you to explain to us what our options are as far as classifying a position, creating the duties of the position, and what basically our authority is in adjusting it. Right now we have a union position of a program coordinator. We'd like to know what the students can do and what decision-making power basically we have over this line item.
Point of order. In the event that you have, that's perfectly fine.
Ask the chair, right?
Ask the chair.
Would you mind if
perfectly fine.
Denise Sweat responds?
Denise, would you like to respond?
Thank you.
Okay, and I will give you what I know, and if we need to bring in human resources, we can. We cannot reassign the job per se. We can't say he is a program coordinator, which is an umbrella position. There's a lot of program coordinators on campus, like in EOPS, Disabled Student Services, that kind of thing. So it's a program coordinator, but every program coordinator has a focused program, and this is intramurals at this point in time, and I believe the volunteer center. Yes. So you cannot per se reassign all these duties. You can, under what his job description is, which is a program coordinator one, review the duties with that person to see what their duties are in their job. But he basically was hired to do intramurals. So you have a choice of either funding that position or not funding that position. If you do not fund that position, he's part of ACE, which is our Association of Classified Employees. He has the right to bump. He's been here a long time and could bump into another position, or he could resign as a layoff. That would be his choice. At that point, if you were not to fund the position, you cannot transfer the duties of intramurals to anyone else. So you would not have an intramurals coordinator. I'm waiting for clarification from the district on if you guys just organized intramurals yourself just to have games, if you could do that without having a coordinator. So they have not ruled on that. That would have to go back to ACE. But his duties per se would go away. You at any time could relook at what kind of position you want for ASFC, and you at that time, like your accountant or a secretary or a program or whatever you want to do, could then redesign a job if you actually wanted to fund a job, like right now you fund your secretary full-time or your accountant full-time. No? by the school?
Previously.
Campus. Anyway, so you could fund a position if you chose to do your money to fund a position, or even part-time positions like you're talking about in the library through allocation. But we do have to go to the district process. You're not allowed to go outside of the district process and hire somebody who is not part of the district. ETA question?
Yes. I was wondering if it was still available, that the student government, if possible, if we could send the funds to the campus center, and then the campus center could deal with the other costs. That way we could pay what we believe is the normal rate in which we would pay historically, and in that way, any other benefits or any costs like that would not be also added on to us, and the campus center could then deal with it.
There is a potential. At Cabinet, Judy Minor did not want to take actual campus center funds that are allocated for like repair, like the floor is getting repaired this summer, and take things that actually food services being repaired and allocate them towards a salary. However, that certainly could be put on the table as a proposal that you might decide on X number of dollars that you would put towards the campus center to help them support funding that position. Then it would be up to the college if they were going to assume the rest of the position. Because just to give you an idea, any position here that's funded through ACE, through our bargaining unit, which is our classified, you add on benefits of 40.9%, okay, to the total salary, not even if you just do half-time. So if it's a $50,000, let's say, full-time salary, you multiply that times 40.9, which would be somewhere around $20,000, and that would be added. It goes half-time, the benefits stay the same, because the person as a half-time still gets all the medical, dental, all that kind of stuff that costs that. So that's why your number is so high, because even though you've cut that position, my understanding in the budget half-time, you're still paying for the full-time benefits. So if you wanted to propose that and move into, let's say you decided you just want to pay the salary and you're going to ask the college to use the campus center funds or other funds to pay the benefits, that's certainly a proposal that could be taken back to Judy Minor and the cabinet asking for that funding. I can't guarantee one way or the other. It would be up to, with the budget hearing going on across the way, with all the disastrous budget situation we're in now, I can't comment. Last week it would have probably been a different answer. But it certainly is something you could propose. Other questions?
Just a moment. Matthew, question?
Yeah, so I would like to get a clarification from several sentences you mentioned when you were answering Joel's question.
Do you want to ask Joel or do you want to ask?
No. Even if I ask
Denise, you can call me Denise.
Thank you. Yeah, so resting from what you said earlier, so if the intramural program for the position is not funded, the intramural position will be done with the intramural responsibilities cannot be allocated to others.
Correct. It's just like when we've cut any other positions on the campus. We have to take that position and it either can go to a higher position and their job can change, or it has the position, those duties have to go away. So we've moved around some duties, like in student services, we've organized and hired some other positions. But for right now, like this, where we are, we would at least go into this next year to eliminate a position altogether with no intramurals until you negotiate with ACE to see if like the students could run them themselves.
Thank you.
I have a question. Currently, the said person is the advisor to the prom squad. If that position was eliminated, what are the criteria by which we assign an advisory role? Would the prom squad be out of luck because they don't have an advisor, or their advisor would just like, or can we assign a new advisor?
You certainly can sign a new advisor because it's not under his job duties. Under the job description I read as a program coordinator, his position is 50% of his position, from my understanding, is for the volunteer center and 50% is for intramurals. Other duties that have come into that or that he's picked up that are not listed as specific duties are just things they pick up. You get what I'm saying? Maybe because they like it or they volunteer to do it. But under his program coordinator one, there is nothing that says he's an advisor to the prom squad. So they could get another advisor, they could get a faculty advisor. Most clubs and organizations have faculty or staff advisors that are unpaid positions, and they just do it because they want to support students.
Before I call you, is there anybody else who has a question for Denise?
That was my question.
That's your question. Cool. Any other questions? Jarrell?
Yes.
Well, you already spoke, so you can go ahead and Jarrell.
I've actually reviewed the ACE contract, and I found out the ACE contract was signed in October, I believe the 24th, 2010, which means when that contract was signed, the Foothill student government was not paying any of the salaries. So that means the contract is between the actual employees and the actual classified staff unions in the district. So how would we be included in that when we had no conversation into what goes on, and it was between the district and the actual union? So that seems like we're being cut.
No, but you're represented by the union. I mean, anybody who hires any employees that are paid by the district are subject to that union. And I'll give you an example. The foundation, we have a foundation where they raise money. That's a separate 501c3 nonprofit organization, and they are still subject to the ACE contract, whether they signed on to it or not. The same with any grant funding we get in. They're still subject to our ACE contract. So anything within the district, your budget is approved by the board, so you are under the board of trustees for Hill De Anza, so you're subject to that. So basically, they signed the contract on your behalf because you're included in that with everybody else.
Question. When it comes to the classification of job roles, we are funding positions, we say how they run, what their responsibilities are. Based on those responsibilities that we give that person, that's how they're classified, correct?
Yes.
And so if we wanted to instruct this person to do other things, would that require a reclassification? And even if we didn't require them to take a different role, could we reclassify the position either way?
Yes, reclassifications work in a couple ways. Right now, he is in a program coordinator 1 position, which there are several others on campus, and we have a reclassification specialist named Aisha Washington, who works down at the district office, who reviews all job descriptions. So if you were to say, we want him to pick up 4 or 5 other duties, he would then have the right to submit his job for reclassification, or you would have the right to submit his job for reclassification if you wanted it done. They have very strict criteria. It's not willy-nilly. You have to meet specific criteria in order to be classified at a certain level. You have an interesting kind of tricky situation in that in 1998, when the district switched over, there used to be all these different classifications for job instead of general ones like Program Coordinator 1, Program Coordinator 2, that kind of thing. That when that happened, Steve's position was actually Y-rated into a higher level than what a Program Coordinator 1 is. So Program Coordinator 1, there's steps at different levels, so that like, to give you an example, Admissions and Record Assistant is a level 41. Program Coordinator 1 position is a level 48. So there's different levels of the position depending on the job duties that go with it, depending on the education required, the experience required. Steve's job right now, the Program Coordinator 1 that you're funding, is actually a Program Coordinator 1 position. However, he got Y-rated, which means that he was making a higher salary at the time when they reclassified him, so he's at a higher level. So that's why you are paying more money, because at that time in 1998, that is what the district did to keep him at his current level. So he did not get any additional step increases or anything to go with that, but he kept the salary he had at that time at the level he was in. I'm hoping that makes sense. So if you come from a position that's higher and that position is changed or eliminated because of something the district's doing, they can Y-rate you and leave you at a higher amount. So there would be flexibility if you were to reclass his position and add more duties to his position. Then there is a potential that they might rate it higher and maybe go to a 49 or a 52, but he's already at a 52, if that makes sense. You probably wouldn't pay him anymore.
Could we request a reclassification before we fund his salary for next year?
You certainly can request it, but it won't get put through by the time you do that. I mean, there's probably right now, I've got like 10 pending in student services, so there's only one person doing it. So you could add duties and then look at doing a reclassification over the summer. So you could say, not only do we want you to do this, we're going to add a number of other duties that you have running other programs or doing other things, and add it to his job. And then he, at that point, can go to HR and ask for reclassification.
Okay.
But my better guess is even if you raise it to that higher position and they come back and they say, hey, this is a Program Coordinator 2, and it's a level 52, he's already there.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody? Or do I need to explain it differently?
Further discussion?
I kind of have a question, but I don't really know how to form it, so I'm just going to kind of say what's on my mind, and you can kind of help.
Okay.
If the ASFC chooses to pay or not to basically pay the intramurals position, can ACE come after the ASFC receive for any monies or fees or anything because no, so the students are completely protected?
Correct, just like any other positions that have been laid off on campus. So if you were to go forward with a budget that didn't have you paying for any positions right now, Steve would get a 45-day notice that he can actually, he's been here so long, I'm sure he has bumping rights that he could bump into another full-time position on campus as a program coordinator. So it wouldn't be being laid off, or he could choose to be laid off as well, it would be his choice. And then he has 39 months rehiring priority. So there is no penalty or anything for you doing that, yes. That's correct. You might end up in a different position. Some people have, because we've laid off some student services people, but no case you can't come back and find you or do anything.
Do you have any more questions, Stephanie?
No, I don't think so. As long as the students are protected.
Yeah, the students wouldn't be paying anything different. It's under the ACE contract, and there's a very specific procedure and process when someone is laid off or their position becomes unfunded.
Because the reason basically why I ask is because each student basically makes up the ASFC, so although we're individuals, we come together as a unit, and I know just ACE, I was kind of worried about students just feeling, comfortable and understanding that they're not going to personally get attacked because depending on how they decide to vote. So I'm just
right, there's no penalty at all for you doing that. He would go in, he's protected by the ACE contract just like any other employee. That we laid off. Like an example of that is Julie Brown, who works over in Pass the Torch, has been here a very long time, and she has the right to bump to several positions or take a layoff, whatever she wants to do. And my understanding is she's bumping into another position. So she's not leaving, she's just not going to be over Pass the Torch, she'll be in a different position on campus.
So basically for that position, that gentleman would actually have choices?
Depending on his seniority, yes, and depending on what's open, yes.
Okay.
But, he's been here so long, I imagine he's one of the most senior program coordinators. I mean, I think he's 25 years.
Do we have questions from other voting members?
I just want to be very clear so that there's not a misunderstanding about how this works, because ACE is simply a union for the classified employees. Faculty has a union, managers have a union, police officers have a union, maintenance people have a union. We have 8 unions on campus, so they all have codes online you can read. It's their bargaining agreement. So you are represented by the district.
Just a clarification. So if this person would get laid off, the intramural program would be gone for now.
Correct.
So the board would be gone as well, and the room, and so on until further notice.
Not necessarily, no.
No?
No, I don't think they would take the facility away just because you didn't have a program.
What about the board, though?
Just to answer that question, no.
No,
the
I don't
board
think
is
so.
established because we've established.
Right. ASFC can do whatever boards they want. So yeah, you could still have an intramural board, and it would be up to negotiating with the ACE president and that to see if you, as students, could run your own program just as volunteers.
Anybody who hasn't spoken yet? Anybody? Questions? Well, before Antonio Rodrigo.
Just to clarify, so if we decide not on a position, the years or the years kind of.
No, the coordinator, the person coordinating it would not be there coordinating it anymore. But ASFC has their own board, and you could continue with your own board and work on doing intramurals, but you'd have to run it all yourself.
Okay.
But you would not have a professional coordinator coordinating it for you.
Antonio?
2 different things.
So if Steve were to choose to bump to another position, would it just be fewer hours, or what would be the
It's totally up to him. He's full-time right now, right? Full-time, yes. So he could bump to a full-time program coordinator position somewhere else. They give you some, there's all kinds of program coordinators on campus. There's probably between Foothill and De Anza maybe 30 or 40 program coordinators. So it would just depend what position, he could bump, because you could start bumping based on how long you've been here. So he may end up in, the athletics department at De Anza, or he could end up in, pharmacy technology or EMT program. It would kind of be his choice as he gets there, depending on his seniority. It's all based on how long you've been here. Yes.
My name is Arvind, and he is the president. It's definitely possible to have, for the students to coordinate intramural. We've done it for a long time in the BAs, so it's definitely possible. And you guys decide to not fund it.
Right, you're not funding a position. You're not funding a position versus funding a program. Does that make sense? Because that's not to say, like at the volunteer center. Right now, I understand you're only funding it half time, so the volunteer center would be gone, but students could themselves set up a volunteer center. I mean, it's a program. It's not the person. Does that make sense? So you wouldn't have that professional person helping you, and that may be key or might not be key. That's your decision.
And in the same way, we've established positions on our council to run certain, various areas of ASFC. We could establish positions like that as well, to run intramurals or to volunteer position on ASFC, stuff like that, in the event that we did not fund the salary.
I had a question.
Okay, ET first, Stephanie. First, Joe, you haven't spoken yet. Your question?
Can you just reiterate that? I want to, so we can create what you just said?
Any position, for example, we the students have established the position of Vice President of Senate. We can establish a position under a board or establish a new board to deal with those kinds of things as well. In the same way that the ASFC President just said they've been running intramurals for a while, we could establish
It's just student
positions
body, and you don't have a coordinator that's
oversee.
professional.
Just a moment, Joe. That was a question.
So you can run the program, but see, it would be with volunteers, it would be with your own people, just like you run ASFC or you run like your Heritage Month or whatever.
My question is, how can we get a clear understanding of what exactly duties are held under this position, so we know what we will be losing exactly? Because I don't think I still don't really understand that. Because after being in the budget committee and actually reviewing the information I was given, there's so much duties in there. So to somebody looking at that, it would be confusing to understand what would be eliminated, because I hear intramural, what that does, but I don't understand. Like I heard about the prom squad, that would not be included because that's separate. So I just want to get a better idea of what exactly. I don't know if anybody has the information here.
Well, you can look up online under fhta.edu. You can go to Human Resources and look under classification and pull up the Program Coordinator 1 position, which is what his position is. And as I say again, it's very generic because it's basically a program coordinator, and you have the same duties regardless of if you're in intramurals or if you're in pharmacy technology or you're in athletics or you're in theater or you're in chemistry. So it's what the duties that have actually been developed for that job. And from my understanding and my research of what we have done with that, checking with HR, he was 50% intramurals as a program coordinator and 50% the volunteer center. Correct? Everybody? So, as far as I'm concerned, when we look at his duties as the supervisor of all of student services, which includes you, his primary job functions are those two areas. So if you were to cut him 50%, say we just want to do intramurals, that's in there. Now, he may have taken on a number of other things he likes to do, but the primary function of that part, if he's a half-time program coordinator, is running intramurals.
So we have hands up from people who have spoken. Do we have questions from voting members who have not spoken, or questions from the public at this point? Anybody? Because remember,
This is a time.
any final vote on the budget requires a 2/3 majority, and you all have a decision to make here regarding students' money, and you are their representatives. So I encourage you to all formulate questions to better understand why you're going to vote the way you do. So I can't say I want a question from every single one of you, but I kind of do. So come up with some questions, okay?
I just want to be as clear as possible. And I know it gets really confusing because it's been a long time in a position that's been there a long time. I wasn't here. I've only been here 5 years and don't know. I was dean of Middlefield campus, so I haven't been involved up here to know how different people got into your budget. Pat did a review going all the way back to see what positions the ASFC is paid for when and how much, and that we have that you can look at. That will help you, but you are subject to the contract, and those are the duties that would be under there. So, to give an example, any one of you at any time could take on additional duties. He could advise the prom squad, he could volunteer to, supervise the locker room or whatever. It's not his job duties. His job duties are program coordinator 1 for intramurals and volunteer.
I may ask you this question. We've gotten to this point because there's been confusion regarding the decision-making process. So that everybody can distinguish clearly what the confusion was. We're having conversation now, so was the confusion that if we eliminated the position, that all of these other areas would go? Was that the confusion?
I'm assuming that was. I wasn't here when you did all your earlier budget talks, but all I tried to do is totally clarify what his job specifically is, and then where AS can come in. And you can hear from Deanza, they're running their own intramural program. So, that's something that actually is a benefit that's already being run there. But as far as his job description, again, he had 250% because he started just as intramurals, and then maybe 2007, 2008, the volunteer center came in, and he went full time. right? Yes.
It's
2006, he went full-time with adding volunteer center programs, okay? But I believe the college paid part of that budget at that time. So his position, if you decide to cut it, could be, you might cut it and just say we want to keep it 50% just from the volunteer center. And that's under program coordinator because he's at that same level.
Pat, would you mind speaking for a moment about standing up? And if you, because I know that you were involved in the budget decision-making process, and you are the one that oversees the campus center and the way that those funds are used. And we are currently paying 2 salaries right now because the campus center determined that they could at one point, correct? And so, regarding the confusion that took place this year, could you speak on the confusion and maybe what you think the confusion was?
The confusion over what his duties are?
Right, and if he was released, what programs would be eliminated, his responsibilities, what we couldn't do. Could you speak on that?
Well, as Denise has said earlier, if you decide that you don't want the volunteer portion, let's say, the volunteer portion of Steve's position, volunteer coordinator position, then anything related to assignment of volunteer hours or the coordination of the volunteer fair or all of those kinds of things that fit under that part of what he has been hired to do go away. So, indeed, I think you asked earlier something about the Palm Squad. Steve is the advisor to the Palm Squad, and he's that under the intramural coordinator. It has been kind of assigned there, you know. So, you know, it's one of those things that sits out there, and we look for places for it to go. No one jumps up on the table and says, "I want to be the advisor to the Palm Squad." No one. So, with that in mind, it got assigned to Steve because it was something that the campus wanted. They wanted a pom or dance squad, or you know, it's gone through a variety of iterations. And so he got it because no one else would do it.
And just for the sake of conversation, his position was eliminated, and he needed an advisor. Not that you would, but just for the sake of
I am
conversation.
so not doing that.
You could,
I'd like to.
but you could.
I did it at Oakland High School for years.
But I mean, if we asked you and you were able to do it, and you could do it in the Palm Squad if you didn't want, correct? I'm just saying.
Yeah, if someone wanted to be the advisor of the Palm Squad, yes, yes, certainly. Someone could do that.
Not me.
Been there, done that.
So it seems like we're getting a little bit more clarity on what's going on. That at the time of if the position is removed, then they no longer have an advisor. However, what was not said is that if someone picks that up, then it's back in full steam. For example, the person that was in charge of the food bank was let go. The food bank still exists. However, under this, that's the confusion. That's under.
Okay, because I'll give you an example. The food bank wasn't an official college thing. Some people just got together and thought it'd be a good idea to have food for students. So they said, let's set up a food bank. So they did. So it's not under anybody's job description. People just did it. And actually the African American Network was responsible, and that's an organization, a faculty, staff, student organization. They're the ones that sponsored it. So it's not official job duty of anybody. People just were members of the African American Network, put it together, and so now Steve has taken it because Leah Lane is no longer here.
Joe, you can speak, but speak to the microphone, and keep it at the point.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that if it's not legally printed in the job description, then it's subjective to whether it continues or not, just like the food bank. Because the food bank wasn't under the job description.
Right, the food bank is sponsored by the African American Network. If you ever look at it, the food bank was sponsored by them. So is your Palm Club, I don't know enough about this, is the Palm Squad, is it like a club? Do they get funds from you like a club?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So my understanding would be that they could get a club advisor like any other club advisor, like Latinos Unidos or like the African American.
Got it. So
Joe, just a moment, I'm going to take other questions.
Good.
Questions? Daphne, you have a question?
I was just going to clarify that one of the reasons it's been difficult that when we didn't have Steve doing the Palm Squad because of the time
part-time coaches that just come in and coach football, that just come in and coach tennis. You know that there's those of you that are in athletics. So you could potentially allocate money if you feel that with the Palm Squad you would want to pay an advisor because there's a lot more time involved in being with them. You could fund an advisor position that would be a part-time position for somebody to come in during the athletic season for the Palm Squad. You understand what I'm saying? Just like any other coach or assistant coach or whatever that's part-time. It's not a full-time employee.
Jarrell, Matthew, Stephanie, and Steve.
I think that the point at the time was that none of this information was given to us, and this information was incredibly necessary for us to know when we were making this decision. We were given, at the time, a budget that had all of these programs highlighted, and I can't find a single item on here that's highlighted other than the volunteer position, which is part of a program that students didn't create, that would necessarily go away if this position was eliminated. I mean, we would be able to keep the cheer squad if somebody else, in fact, advised them, because that duty is not part of the intramural program coordinator description. We have intramural programming operations as a fund, but that doesn't mean that we can't allocate money for the intramural board separately through the ASFC. We have intramural assistants, but that doesn't mean we can't hire student activities assistants who could, in fact, oversee games and stuff that go on in the Heartside Lounge if we wanted to move, if the campus center allowed us to move in there and run these programs. In fact, I can't see any of these programs would necessarily go away with this position going away if there was a reorganization and the intramurals program did go away. So the intramurals program would go away, but we would still be able to have similar activities and be able to keep the cheer squad and the specific institutions that were said to be cut in this budget.
Right. What you're losing is the professional supervision. You're losing having a supervisor who is a college employee supervising the program. So that's what you would need to decide if that's what you need. Now for the Palm Squad, you could hire part-time TEA person to advise being somebody's not going to just want to volunteer on campus to go do it because it's so time consuming. However, you're absolutely correct that what you're losing is the supervision of those programs.
Thank you for this information. I think it's what we've been needing.
So I have a question to the budget commissioner. So this budget with the yellow lines represent what?
The yellow lines is the area that they put. That's the scare tactics about what the programs would be cut if we did not fund the intramural. However, I want everyone to know here, it has always been funded. It was never, ever removed.
I'll give you a moment to speak a little later.
Yes. And then if you look at Campus Life, you'll see that it's funded.
Okay.
It was never removed.
Okay,
Yes.
no, here's my question. So in this account number spot, it says no VP and intramural board. What does that mean?
I did not put that there. That is the scare tactics used, given to the Budget Commission regarding.
Let's not do scare tactics. Let's just do, how about misinformation?
That was the misinformation put in the area.
No editorial.
Okay, I apologize.
Okay.
That was the information given to us
Right.
to highlight what would happen. However, never really explained.
Right. Well, that's why I'm here to do that, to try and do that. You just hadn't invited me before. I didn't feel properly.
Yeah. Matthew, question? Comment? Yeah, and keep in mind, comments and questions need to be new. So don't repeat things, and that's for everybody. So no repeating, please. Matthew.
I had about the ACE contract about 40% benefit for all the supervisors.
40.9, no, the ACE supervisor, ACE employee. Yes.
And when the respective person is still holding the position as the intramural coordinator and the volunteer center, it is still 40%.
Yes. Yes, the benefits are 40.9%, and that's on your full salary. So even if you cut him to half salary, we still end up paying 40.9% of the full benefits because his benefits don't get less. You know, his medical still stays the same, his dental, his vision care, his long-term disability, all that still stays the same. So you would cut his salary in half, plus you would add 40% to it and 100% of the salary, which makes that bigger number. Is that clear to everybody? And that's how you figured it out, right? You gave the number? Yes.
That's what I was giving
to get your full benefits, but that is the case.
And I'm asking these questions because I'm confused as well. Joe, who gave you this budget?
Oh, we were given that during the budget meeting.
Who made this budget though? With the
it was
yellow
given
line.
to us from an account manager.
Sarisha, did you make it?
These numbers are given from accounting office, definitely, and this was reviewed by my dean as well as my director.
Yeah, just this yellow line.
Yes. So those were the lines which were to go if the position went away. That's what information I got. That was because I did the numbers and because I did the spreadsheet, those were highlighted and it was reviewed.
So my question is, who put the no VP and intramural there?
Same, it's me, but
I just think it's misunderstanding on what it all means, and I just think there's a misunderstanding, and actually it's taken me a while to get this all clear with HR what all this means.
Okay, a couple of things. I actually saw last year's budget, and one of the issues was this position. I want to make it clear that I actually raised concerns about this as well last year, and we had never received anything where it was ever highlighted like this. That this, to my surprise, I didn't even understand that, and there's no clarification of what the colors actually mean, or even the different colors changing. But a couple of, I had two questions I wanted to ask. The first one is, are the wages and benefits usually when you see like a total for a job, are the wages and benefits included in the salary, or do you usually see that as separate or as a separate line item? And should that be consistent throughout, since we've been covering the position and the wages and benefits? Should they have been together or separate? Because it's not consistent throughout the year.
Right. The district themselves put wages in one line and benefits in another line.
Okay.
Because different people, like administrators, we only get 30.9% or something, and faculty gets a difference. So it's negotiated by the union. So by the district, it's in two different things. As far as hitting your bottom line, it's going to be the total amount because you're responsible for the total amount.
Okay.
But the district does separate them as separate budget items because of reporting. Because he's not taxed on his benefits, so you certainly wouldn't want that to go. You know, when you get your W-2 at the end of the year, it doesn't include your benefits because you sure don't want to pay taxes on that too.
Okay.
So that's why we keep it
I'm not
separate.
done. I still have another
Let
question.
ET answer since we're doing questions.
Okay. Thank you.
My question kind of connected to hers, but I have a second question. During when we had the final budget meeting, a lot of students were told if we did not pay the amount to the salary that Steve Mitchell would be laid off. Mm-hmm. Is that true, or would he still have a choice to continue to work on the campus and interact with students?
He's been here so long, he's one of the highest seniority employees on campus for program coordinator. So what we do is we call bump, so that anybody who's worked here less years, Steve's probably worked here 20 years, so anybody who's worked here less than 20 years, he could potentially bump their job. So although you call it a layoff because he's no longer going to be on your payroll, he definitely could have another position on campus if he chooses to do that. It's his choice if he takes the layoff or if he bumps. So, and I guarantee you there's people who are program coordinator one who are much lower than he is that he could bump into a number of positions. Do you get what I mean? They bump and then that person potentially gets laid off, or they might bump the next person.
Yeah, I was just asking that because during the meeting everybody assumed it seemed like all the athletics and people coming in, they were assuming that Steve would be laid off from the school campus out of the district. That was what people were thinking.
Right. He's entitled to a job based on the seniority established with ACE. So he's entitled, because even though we laid off like 10 people in student services, people can bump. Like Julie Brown, who's laid off from Astor, can bump. She's been here like 6 years, so she can bump anybody in her classification, administrative assistant one, that's lower than her less years. So she actually has a couple of choices.
Thank you.
We're going to move to people who have questions. Did you have Newton? We're going around to people who haven't asked questions, and that's what we're doing. Newton, did you have a question or comment? Okay. Antonia, Rodrigo, Jarrell, Stephanie. And then we'll move on to other individuals who have things that they'd like to present. So we'll go in that order. So please.
Can I also speak in office
How about anybody else who has questions for Denise first?
Okay, well, I guess I'll just ask the first question.
Sure.
Is it possible that since he could bump
So if you eliminate, say we're not going to pay for that, then he can bump into a full-time position on campus or a part-time position for program coordinator 1, whatever his choice would be. But then he can't come back and do part-time intramural coordinator because that's the actual position that he's cutting. I hope that makes sense. But he would be somewhere else, either on Twitter or Kansas campus, doing, if he chose to do a program coordinator job.
Oh, Antonio Rodrigo. Yes, you, Rodrigo.
Okay, can I make a question to Antonio?
To Antonio?
Yeah.
You may ask Antonio a question.
Okay. Do you think we are able to like coordinate activities without a supervisor?
I think that is a huge, like has been discussed, it's a huge liability and a huge time commitment as well. And the hours that our current program coordinator puts in advising. We just had an event yesterday. It was the Escape to Kingston event, and our coordinator had to make sure that we had lifeguards on duty and that safety was being maintained during the entire event. So things like that are a huge time commitment. He had to make sure that the lifeguards had certifications, things like that.
All right, I understand your question, and because this is a line item, there'll be discussion on this matter later. Okay. Who has the next question, Stephanie?
I just kind of want to understand, if we do not pay the intramurals position, it was said that the students can go ahead and fulfill responsibilities. Now, I want to know how that would be. Would that be under student jobs, such as like work study or something like that? Or would it be under volunteer? And if so, volunteer, would they get paid because that position was a volunteer position in which it was paid too?
I don't know how your system works right now. If you pay people like that work in intramurals right now, the students?
Yes, we do.
Yes, yeah, we do.
Intramurals? Yeah, so either you would volunteer, and volunteer means you're not getting paid. So you would be a volunteer or you would be a student employee who's doing intramurals. So that would remain the same, but we would not have a supervision for that program. We would have to figure out who would be able to supervise intramurals if you did it. But you know, what you really need to think about is your budget is what, $500,000?
Yes.
$500,000. What you need to look at when you decide how you're allocating money is how many students are you serving and what are you serving them for and what are your priorities. And I think that's where it gets very difficult, is you have to keep in mind what are you serving. To give you an idea in student services, when we look at programs, we look at what are critical services for you. Obviously admissions and records, right? Financial aid, right? Counseling, right? So we look at those areas, and I'm trying to keep those critical areas staffed as much as I can because it serves the most number of students. So where we try and cut is areas that are serving less number of students. So you're going to have to evaluate how many students are participating in intramurals every year, and how much, if you take Steve's salary of $50,000 plus another 40% is 100 or whatever, is what, 72, 76? 78?
Right now it's a portion, it's allocated $72,800.
$72,800, so that represents 20% of your budget, right? At least, no, how much does that represent? 20-25% of your budget. So, are you? Yep.
So around 12%. Not that much.
10% of your budget is $50,000.
Our expected income is roughly $500,000.
Yes, right.
Additional money in there is from other
Fund
balances. So our income, it's almost about 17%.
$425,000. So if you take that, you're spending $76,000 or $78,000 on that position. So what you need to think of, all of you, is how many students are you serving? Are you serving the majority with what they think their student funds should be used for, or are there higher priorities that you have? And that's what we do in student services when we're deciding where the money's going to go. Because I know with critical services, it would be horrible to close like admissions and records and not have anybody available except maybe online chat for an hour a day versus cutting back tutoring services or something that serves less students, because admissions and records serves everyone. You see the philosophy behind that? So that's where you need to do some hard thinking on how you spend your money.
Absolutely. Before I entertain any further questions from the people who've already spoken, is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Khan?
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes, you may. Thank you. I understand. So right now it's almost 3:30. We have to be out of here at about 5 o'clock. We have a lot of other things we need to discuss regarding the budget. Are there any other pertinent questions for Denise? Because we're going to move on to people who would also like to speak on this matter. Joe has something he'd like to present. So, three of you, Matthew. So this pertinent,
Mr. Chair,
not
might I
been
ask?
asked yet, all that stuff?
Mr. Chair, might I ask, did you already assign an order to speaking and
Yes,
I'd like to speak
I
still?
did.
Thank you.
So, Jarrell, where'd you next?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. I'd like to ask if Steve Mitchell was in fact bumped to another program coordinator one position, because he's been able to do so much volunteer work in this program coordinator one position, couldn't he still do the same volunteer activities, assisting Brother to Brother, the Palm Squad, etc., under a new program coordinator position? And all of that money that we would have spent on that could have gone elsewhere. We could find ways to keep the programs as I discussed before, and maybe Steve Mitchell would still be able to volunteer and be an asset to us as well in the same way.
Yeah, that would be up to, working that out with your new supervisor, his new supervisor, wherever he ends up. But, I mean, any faculty or staff can volunteer to do whatever position they want to do. So, like, nobody gets paid to advise the Latino Club or the African American Network or any of the other clubs we have on campus. So it's not a paid position, that's just faculty or staff are volunteering their time. And most time a manager works with them, whoever their dean is or whatever, and doesn't penalize them for time that they're spending working with the club. But that would be up to the new manager.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to finish this round of questions. DT, would you?
I have a really precise question. Okay, I looked at our last year budget and we allocated $112,000. So, and that's wages and benefits. So that would mean the salary would be around $80,000, correct?
Yeah, is that what his salary is? Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
So half of 80,000 is 40,000. So I'm confused. How did we get to 72,000? Like, what is the real price of the salary? I don't think we even realize what's the real price of the wages, because everything we receive is wages and benefits collected together.
Right.
And I assume that they should have been separate as well.
Right,
So
I see
you
what
can
Sharice
understand.
has to say. She's your accountant and know exactly what his salary is right now. And two, you should know that salaries for everybody is public information.
And I would just like to have it on the record to be said that when we received all the information about the salaries, it was concluded together as salary and benefits. So we didn't know what the real salary was. So that makes it incredibly hard for you to make actual decision.
Well, let's get that information really clear today, because it's going to give you some guidance as far as making any decision. So, Sharice, already done.
So for the current year, the wages are about $8,541.96.
Okay, so $81,000.
$80,541.96.
So if you were to have him go to halftime, it would be $40,000, $40,100 plus your benefits, which would be about
So current benefits are $40,606.
$40,000.
The current year.
That can't possibly be possible. It's only
That's
40.9%.
$12 for 12 months.
Yes, but it's only 40% of his entire salary.
It's been charged for benefits $3,383.90 per month. Times 12 is $40,606.
Clarification, is that for this year or would that be for
current year?
This current year?
This current year.
Yeah, okay.
40.9. I checked it with HR today, 40.9%. That's going to be something we're going to have to check, because the classified is 40.9%. So if you took that on $80,000, that would only be $32,000 and 30. Yeah. So we can get close to the number, but you see his salary is $40,000 would be halftime plus 40% on top of that. We can sort out what the district is charging you to make sure that it's correct.
But these numbers which I've given you is what they have charged till now.
Right.
Can I ask
These are the numbers which are there on our
question?
reports, and district is charging this. So if there is any confusion, that will be a
Right. And that's something I can confirm. I can, this district can confirm that. But that is the benefit rate we have to use.
Can I add something else?
You may.
We were also told during the budget meeting, which was I think 2 weeks ago, we were told that we had to pay half that salary, so the intramural part-time salary, and 40% of all of the salary, even including also the salary for the volunteer center. Is that true, or is it just the 40% of the part-time salary?
No, it's 40% of the whole salary. So that's the trick on it, is that because once he hits full time, once he hits 50% of doing his job, you have to pay 40.9% benefits on the entire job, because his benefits don't lower. It still costs him the same amount for his medical, for his dental, for everything. So he gets the full amount. So the benefit amount doesn't change, just his salary amount changes.
It's 7,500.
Okay. Excuse me. So it's the student's right to request the A's contract to see exactly how much they're supposed to be paying or proposed to be paying for a position?
Yes,
because I had asked specifically for this, and we were told that the documentation was not available, and I brought up the point, how are we able to vote on something that we don't even have concrete evidence, because it didn't make any sense. To me, we could be voting on $80 million.
And I will verify that, but we know right now that his salary is $80,200 or $500, $80,000, something around there. So we know that halftime his salary is $40,000, and I will verify the benefits amount and send that to Shane. I can call HR, get the numbers for you, because salaries are public information. So there shouldn't be any reason we shouldn't have it. We can have that to you, that he can forward it out to everybody, the exact amount it would be to have Steve at 50% to keep that position at 50%.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Yeah,
actually I do. So I just want to go ahead and ask, all of the money that students are in charge of is actually in here? There's no other accounts hidden or anything that is not given?
Nothing that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
I've looked at your budget and looked at your fees. The fees go in there, and then you have some revenue generating. But you have an accountant right here who can tell you that. But there are not. Go ahead.
All the accounts, the student accounts, is public information. It is right there. Nothing is hidden. There is Fund 11, which is your ASFC operating budget. There is Fund 12, which is your special projects. Every year, when you close your books, if you end up with a surplus, it either goes into a savings account, or the students have set aside, created new special projects, and they said, okay, we want to do special project in transportation.
actually referring to is I actually sat on a budget meeting, and a comment was made that there is money that the that the trustees are unaware of, and I believe this is two separate accounts, and I don't have the exact amount, but I think it's approximately $1.4 million. I'm just curious, I want to know, are the students at the beginning of the year when they're handed all the information?
Time out. Sarisha, the amount that you just said is the total amount of all 5 funds that you
Is that all 5 funds?
So, yes.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the total amount.
That's
Yeah.
all 5 funds.
1.44 million. This is an income statement I just printed up today, which has all the funds.
And I just reviewed it as well.
It's $1.4 million. It's the total dollar amount today.
And that's
Out
all
of
of the
it,
accounts.
close
All
to
the student accounts.
Oh, good.
close to 600,000 is the trust account, which I was talking that different divisions have their own trust account, and then you have your ASFC fund balance, which is your Fund 11, which you're talking about right now. Right now, the totals are 420,000 in your fund balance. In your Fund 11, Fund 12, your special projects, has about $257,000. Fund 13, which is your representation fee, which has about $170,000. Clubs have about $61,000. Again, these are all your monies. They're sitting in the fund balance, right? And these totals, these numbers keep changing because every single day there is some transaction happening. Expenses are made, income is made. So those numbers keep changing. But this is what has been posted till now. There might be tons of other things in the pipeline which affects it. And the final numbers will be done at the end of the year in June 30th is the official closing date, but it's the whole month of July when we close the books. All the expenses will be transferred. Whatever you said that we will fund, the students will then hit your accounts, and then the final budget is then closed. If there is a deficit or surplus, it will go into your trust account. Sorry, it will go into your fund balance.
And Stephanie, make way for ET, please.
Okay, thank you, Teresa.
First, I would like to make a note that this information that I'm hearing right now with all this full detail was never expressed to me the whole time I was on the Budget Commission until clearly like that. And after saying that, I would like to continue to say that we are allowed to use these extra trust accounts at any time to pay for anything as long as it is in that line item. Am I correct? Like, for example, if it says a line item for ASFC equipment, and basically because in the past we had surpluses, so does that mean we never can use that money? Or does that mean that as a budget committee we could choose to use those funds to pay off the budget, even if that account may have $20,000 in it? Wouldn't that mean that we could go into that account and use it? And another thing I would like to also add is...
Just let her respond to the question first.
So you're asking for special projects can you use those accounts? We have used, the campus council has approved even in this year a couple of things from using those accounts. Those are used as an appropriated. Those funds are tapped into to meet the needs of the campus, the students.
I would agree with that, but the point is I would like to make is during the budget committee process, the budget process committee, we were never told. First of all, let me say those accounts were not brought up automatically from the beginning, which I believe they should have, because if you're going to make a financial decision, you should know all accounts. And basically, those accounts didn't come forward until we asked for them. So if we had no prior knowledge of those accounts, no one would know. I think that's unfair. And another thing I would like to bring up is we were never given the perception that we could use those funds.
We were told that. Okay, let me clarify a little bit on trust accounts. Trust accounts usually come from somebody donating money to you or some other way of getting money. Sometimes they come with strings. Like we get money donated at Middlefield campus that's for the athletic equipment in the fitness room. Or we get money donated to a trust account for scholarships. So sometimes there's strings attached on some of these trust accounts. But if you have an open trust account, yes, you can spend them on what you need. If you have a basic operating budget as well. So, and I think this is, I guess, part of the reason that I pulled the budget and didn't have it go, because I felt there was a lot of confusion around it from the information I was hearing. So I think you're taking the right direction in fixing the process, to make sure you have that information, and maybe starting with next year's ASFC, Sharisha sends out by email electronically all of your budget, so you can take a look at it and see and have regular conversations about it, and call different people in to help you if you need HR, if you need accounting, because you are audited, just like the district is every year by an outside auditor. So, you know, you are audited so that there's nothing going on or things are questioned just like any other district expenditure. So Sharisha gets audited and has to present all the stuff in the books. But it is confusing the way the district does your budgets and all your different fund numbers, but some of them are for different things. So I think as we establish a process for the code, for the finance committee, we make real clear that you have all that information, it's discussed, and everyone understands it before decisions are made. And we still have time to do that. So we can do that.
Yeah, I'd like to add that the process by which we receive information and go about, you know, deciding on our budget is under discussion now with our code review committee, and one of the codes that we're going to be focusing on is the budget committee, the budget commission code, and all the concerns that people have regarding the process can be clarified and placed into writing to ensure that the information is there every year going forward. Okay? Just a moment. I'm going to leave this open to discussion just so everything's out of the way. We're making, you know, everything's being clarified here. Joe, you ran up to the mic, but that doesn't mean you're getting going first. Con, Tommy, Daphne, and then Joe.
Can you explain or elaborate on the topic and just the definition of the trust fund or trust account, and at the same time, when can we use it and how can we use it?
The trust
many
fund.
Many of us right now are just drifting off what the heck is going on. Most people don't know unless you're responsible for it, because what I'm seeing so far, people's faces are like, what's happening? What's this? Could you please elaborate on the definition?
Well, yeah, and I would just like to say, Con, you're confused, and I'm glad you're asking the question, but if people are confused and not understanding where the conversation is going, you need to raise your hand or ask for clarification. So
yes, that's
I encourage you all to do that. And I've seen some faces too, and I want everybody to be aware. But I'm not calling anybody out. Thank you, Con. Trust 8. Yes, Fund 18. That's what we'd like to know about. And could you clarify that the majority of the money in there is not ASFC money? A little tiny portion of it is. Yes.
Just the definition of it. The simple definition of account, trust account, and how can we use it, when can we use it. That's the easy thing.
So I'm gonna try to state it in a little bit different way, okay? So special projects, things that you think, gosh, you know, next year we want to put benches all over the campus, and we happen to have a whole lot of money sitting in our ending balance. Let's put it in a special project called benches, okay? So you do have 31 special projects that have been created over a number of years. Trust accounts, on the other hand, are monies. For example, badminton has a club, and they sell candy bars. And they, you know, or someone donates, let's say someone donates $250 for badminton, can go buy rackets.
Public donate, right?
Yeah. It can go into that trust account that is, this money I'm donating $250 so that you, badminton, can buy rackets.
Okay.
But that's all it can be used for. So that money cannot be reappropriated in a different direction. It is very specific as to what its purpose is. The special projects, you can decide, gosh, you know, we thought we were going to buy benches, but, you know, that just doesn't seem like a cool idea anymore. Let's vote by campus council to redirect that money some other way.
Okay, so it's still
is
in
that clear?
Yeah, it's in that account, but it's going to be relabeled as something else.
Yes, you would have to put it up, and assuming that there is not a claim on that money for a particular purpose, then that money can go back into consideration and be reappropriated in a different direction.
So then, one last thing.
Yeah.
So then the trust account cannot, for example, that badminton money that donates, you cannot change the name of that, for example?
Well, example, we had a number of trust accounts that were for various memorials. Okay? Those memorials have been done for a number of years.
Okay.
So a memorial for someone has been paid for, but there's an extra $200 in it.
Okay.
So at some point, those can get consolidated into a like service. Okay? So now, instead of a memorial for Pat Highland, because that's over, we've got a general memorial account, trust account, that is for the same purpose, if you will. Not taking it in a whole new direction. Let's just redirect it and plant plants with that. No.
Okay, so because the topic of the memorial, you have to be on the memorial, something about the memorial.
Something is for a similar purpose. So if it was for a XYZ scholarship, and the XYZ people said, you know what, we're tired of that,
we don't want to do it anymore. It would morph into a generalized scholarship purpose.
On that root topic. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Really fast, Sarisha, Fund 18, what amount of money in that fund is ASFC money?
I would say
Out of the total, what portion of that is ASFC money?
probably about 15 to 20,000.
And what's the total?
The total is $587,000.
And that $587,000 is money that belongs to athletics, dental hygiene, all of these different places. We are their accountants. We earn the interest off that, which is small, and it's in our budget, and it's about $8,000 is what we're expecting from that income for the coming year. So, is that correct, Sarisha?
A lot of trust accounts are held by different divisions. Their own pet project, which is related to students, like dental hygiene. The hygienists do stuff, cleaning and all that. So there's a nominal amount of money which they charge. They put it in this trust account, and they use that money for toothbrushes or toothpaste or whatever supplies they need. Testing office, they do the testing services. They charge some dollar amount when you go for testing. They buy tests with those monies. So it's not ASFC's money at all. It is their own divisions, small little pockets, which the district kind of said, okay, student accounts is there. Have your bank there. Let them do the books. Again, cash and checks are not deposited in student accounts. It goes directly to the bookstore. That part of the handling is done by the bookstore. We get the numbers, and I post those numbers into the system. And again, these things, they are the budgeteers. They're deans. They're faculty members. They're the ones who are responsible for those things. And ASFC doesn't have any say in those things.
Sure.
The only thing which you're getting out of this whole thing is the interest which is earned goes into ASFC.
Regarding this particular fund, are there any questions for Sarisha before we move on? Easy.
I keep understanding you're talking about the restricted accounts, but I don't think anyone's talking about the restricted accounts. I'm talking about the other $266,000, which is split between student ASFC equipment, ASFC cultural awareness. I'm asking, at any time, can we use those extra accounts there? Can we use those accounts to put money into awareness or whatever? Does those accounts have to stay where they are? That's my question.
I'm still confused, but I'll just answer.
Wait, please explain your confusion.
I can answer that. So, as you remember, let's say we designated a project. So, at the end of the year, it's June. We have $100,000 sitting left over. Let's put it into a special project. So, over the years, 31 of those, one of which is called, I don't know, let's pick one. Heritage Month Marketing Special Project. Okay, let's dump some cash into there so that next year there's more money for Heritage Month marketing. But then we come around to next year and we say, we don't think Heritage Months need marketing. We need to take a vote that says take it out of that, let's collapse that special project and move it back into your general fund. You can do that with many, if not all, of those. You can collapse every special project on
I just want to add something. We were never told that on the budget committee.
All right.
3 years haven't heard that.
So, since there's a lot of questions about projects and trust funds and extra, all of that, so the budget development team, short-term group that puts together this document, which is the money that only goes from year to year. The 12-13 money is what they're looking at. Special projects don't roll over. They're in that fund because you can draw upon them at any time. So they're not reflected here. They're not discussed in the budget looking
ask a
at.
direct
when
question
we-
about that?
when we're done.
Yeah, do you think it would make sense going forward to discuss those during the budget development?
You could.
Can I ask a question directed to him?
You, Sarisha? Yes. And then,
This was discussed even in this budget process, and I would like to remind, there's so much happening here we forget. Adaptive Learning Division requested some kind of pens, and it was discussed, and finally that was approved from one of these special projects by the budget development team, that they said, okay, we'll draw it from the special project. So this was kind of discussed. But I know it is a lot of information, even for us it's confusing, so I can understand that, but this was discussed, and those pens, which was part of the request for this year, in this budget, was reviewed, and the body decided to fund it from one of the special projects.
Okay.
And the special projects are always a part of the budget the budget commission team. Every request which comes, we discuss, should it come from unallocated reserve or the special projects. These special projects are used during the current year also. And motions are made to use funds from this fund also.
Sure.
Right? And at the end of the year again, surpluses are looked and these accounts are looked, and in the previous years, I can vouch for that the students decided, okay, we don't want ASFC Ambassador Support Program. Zero it out and move those funds to ASFC Marketing / Technical / Ambassador. That was created just 2 years back. It was different line items, and they said, oh, let's just put in one. So those things are discussed at the end of the year, but during the year, monies are drawn from these accounts.
okay. And
It's just that.
Could I ask a question directed to that?
You may, but just one sec. So, with respect to what I just said, when I asked them, should these things be discussed, if we want to ensure that those things are discussed right off the bat, and we want the development project to begin a lot sooner, and we want to devolve those powers to the committee, that's something that we can look at for the committee code. So, if you are interested in doing that, come to the meetings. Easy. And then Joe.
I have a question directed to either Sharisha or Daphne, and I just heard everything that you explained. And my question is to you is, under what bylaw, under what budget code does it suggest that you should not let us know the information because over the year, either the budget committee or none of our bylaws or our budget committee process suggests any of these things. So under what code are you going by that you feel that budget committee should work that way? Is it under your own personal view, or is it under the view of our budget code, and is it under the view of our Constitution and our bylaws? That's my question.
Yes.
Students write the bylaws, the Constitution, the codes. Advisors don't. So whatever your bylaws and codes say, those are written by students. Okay, so you should refer to those.
Our bylaws are
the budget development process has been developed with students through time and past practice. So your code talks about the budget commission and the timelines that are required. The budget commission, which is an ASFC standing commission, handles budget issues throughout the year. Requests from unallocated reserves, anything that comes out throughout the year. The budget development team is made up of students from the budget commission and many, many others that join the process. It's been the most efficient way to handle it in terms of getting as much student input because the budget development team is larger. Lots of students at large. We have 8 or 9 students at large that join the budget development team with the specific purpose of creating next year's budget. They're not, they don't necessarily get involved with the decisions that come in on a regular basis. Heritage Month requests, requests for events that come through. So these are the processes that have been in place, not written by me, not written by Sarisha, not written by Pat, written by students, and then followed as past practice. This is the way that the students have operated. Doesn't mean we can't change them, doesn't mean we're not open to changing them.
Just a moment. Just a second, everybody. Just a moment. Just a moment. Esther, where's Esther? I hate to call you out, Esther, but don't leave again without asking. Okay.
Point of clarity.
Okay.
Yeah, point of clarity. It suggests what she's saying right now. It suggests nowhere in our budget code that is the truth. that is a creative process.
Right. You see, you're not.
We can bring the budget code up right now, and this is fact. I'm not name calling. Nowhere in the budget code to suggest that.
Okay.
That's.
I've got a direct question regarding this as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Like my question is, how can you suggest that when nowhere in our budget actual code it suggests that? How do you just come up in your own head to say that that's the project shall work? The process shall work like that when nowhere in our code suggests the process works like that.
So are you if I could clarify your statement, are you saying that you feel that decisions have been made that should have been made?
Exactly. I feel like the advisor is coming up with her own. I respect her time being here, and I respect the fact that she's been here over 20 years and she's done this many years. But each student government is different. Each leader involved is different. So it doesn't mean they could have did it for 10 years like that. The Mexican government might not agree, might say, let's go back and take all the money out of these accounts. Let's put them forth and say, maybe we should spend it here. Maybe we should spend it here. Because that money was put in that account 5 years ago. Maybe we don't need that. Who, under what judgment, and under what perspective do you think that you are the one who decides how the process should work? Not every time giving each student group that is involved in the budget a chance to look at everything freely and decide how they would like it to work. That's my point.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Joe, any questions or comments need to be new information?
Yeah, they're new information. New questions. So basically, let's not get distracted by the numbers itself, right? The numbers we talked about. What is at issue is the process. And an example of the process is, you talked about redoing the bylaws and the budget bylaws. Was the budget commissioner there to discuss them?
Discuss what? The codes?
The codes.
We haven't discussed them.
Got it. And who is the advisor for the discussion of these bylaws and codes?
I've requested Denise Sweat. As far as I know, Denise Sweat is the bylaw review committee advisor. With respect to who the advisor will be with the codes, that hasn't been determined yet, but we'll figure that out going forward.
And understanding that we have to be here out at 5, the nuances and the numbers we can always discuss and talk about, but I got a pretty big report about embezzlement, whistleblowing, and retaliation. How would you like to hear about that?
Before we even entertain that idea, are there any questions further?
Yeah, good.
Any
good
other
question.
clarification?
Yes. Thank you. It was mentioned that students write the Budget Commission code, not advisors. But my question is, why in my first year and a half or beyond that here was I never presented the guiding documents for the Budget Commission code? And why, when we were presented the Budget Commission code, did it show no adoption date or change log, which makes every document or every one of our guiding documents legal? There should be some evidence that students actually wrote that budget, and I've never seen another student government that was willing to give power to their administrators in their own budget committee. I've never seen students willingly do that. And I'm wondering, under what authority do you bring a document to us that has no change log or evidence that students approved it, and that gives this authority to people, and why was it withheld for so long? And why did the entire budget deliberations process happen without an agenda and without minutes in violation of the Brown Act? Every Budget Commission agenda showed adjournment and then budget deliberations. I don't believe that's legal, and there's nothing on the record. Why did it need to be so secret?
I don't really think the question needs to be answered at this moment that you just asked. If there's someone,
why is that?
Is there a person that you're directing this question at? Well, and I'll answer that question because everything you're asking now needs to be discussed during code review. Okay, this doesn't actually pertain to the information right here.
To clarify, we're talking about revisions in the process, and the question would be directed to the advisor of that committee, which would be Daphne Small.
Would you like to answer that?
Sure. Well, I'll just answer make a general statement. The bylaws and codes are yours. It's not the advisor's responsibility to even keep those documents. You have an association here, and you have a secretary. That information is with the secretary. The VP of Administration is supposed to keep track of the bylaws. I have copies of them, but it's the association's responsibility to make sure that those are carried on from year to year. I can't tell you
there's a general, not a general, but there are several individuals here who seem to be going in the direction of why the codes, because governments change so often, year to year, as the advisor for ASFC, maybe why weren't these codes, why didn't you divulge this information regarding these codes at a sooner date?
It's not my responsibility.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, I know I'm out of order, but at any point in time, a student asks for a document to their advisor, regardless of not if it is on hard copy, isn't it the advisor's or staff's responsibility to, if not provide that documentation for the student, to help assist them in getting it? Because this has been going on. I have actually been involved in student government for 2 years as a member, and I have been actually, you can say, around that building now for almost 3 years, 2.5 years. And I have consistently heard from students on the board that they have asked for documents. They were told that the documents are not there, that they don't know where they are. They asked the advisor where it was, and then basically it kind of ended right there, as if it was the student's responsibility. But I guess I'm a little bit confused because I thought an advisor advised the student into completing whatever their job may be.
All right, so the question now does not pertain to what our advisor's job description is. It's regarding the 2012-2013
The information, yeah,
right.
The information. So if a student asks for a document, they should either A, be provided it, or B.
Again, this does not pertain to the 2012-2013.
Yes, it does, actually, because
Stephanie,
there's
out of order.
You're out of order.
Okay, I'm sorry, but it does. So, okay.
Okay. And I apologize for slamming the gavel that hard. We're going to move on, and we're going to keep the discussion on the 2012-2013 budget. We're going to refocus. Joe has a presentation he'd like to make. Joe, with this presentation, I would like to remind you that because our discussion has gone on for so long, that anything you present to us needs to be new information.
Oh, it's new stuff.
All right. I entertain that we, for the go, to begin this, I entertain that we limit discussion for Joe by 10 minutes. And if it exceeds 10 minutes, we'll go into discussion regarding the extension of his time.
Second.
I say we.
So moved by Jocelyn, seconded by Israel.
Discussion.
No discussion on
Extending time.
extending time.
It's not discussed.
So all those in favor of extending, limiting discussion to 10 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So I'm going to claim it right now that this is a violation of the California Whistleblowers Act. You have to allow me to speak indefinitely, or I have the ability to call the police. This is not on you guys. It just allows me to talk about the issues. Give me at least 20 minutes. Let me go on for 20 minutes and talk about this stuff. That's all I ask for. So you can see what's going on.
Your time is gone. 30 seconds. So
Can you give me, here, I motion, give me 20 minutes so I can talk about this stuff. This stuff is important.
So move 20 minutes since it's 4:03 right now. We might be able to handle this.
seconded by Newton. All those in favor of extending Joe's time from 10 minutes to 20 minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. There's no discussion on the extension of time.
All right, you remember this slide. So, call me, do anything. Let me talk about it. You want numbers? I got them. So, it's California Whistleblowers Act. I told you about it. California Ed Code 87160. You have to let me talk. Violation of this is $10,000 or imprisonment in jail. Then just let me talk. So the key issue is don't be distracted by the intramural position discussion. The money is there. It's solid. It's there. We support it. The narrative that you've gotten from people that advise us is that the jobs are going to be cut. No, it's there. The money is there. The programs are there. No discussion. I'm approved. I have no opposition to the current budget. So, whatever you guys want to ask, go for it. That position has always been the same. The problem is manipulation, retaliation, and intimidation of students for a personal agenda by their advisor. For example, the boss, right? They talked about this. Why the budget was pulled. Why Denise came along, she heard some information, talked to Judy Miner, and the budget was pulled, or the budget item was pulled from the trustees. It must have been enough that we have to get in here today. So, is the retaliation continuing? Yes, I believe so. This was from Tuesday. Daphne Small, folks that are upcoming campus town meetings will be focused on the subject at hand and not be finger-pointing others. It's not finger-pointing others. There's violations of the law. I have to bring this up. This was an attempt to basically silence the voice again. This is a violation of the Whistleblowers Act. Moreover, at the budget committee were you going to allow Joe Titan to speak? Why was that brought up? I'm the budget commissioner. I'm on your side. I'm the guy that talks to Sarisha, Pat, everybody here. I even talked to Jason Ma, VP back then, to learn more about the budget. Why? Am I being retaliated or am I being silenced? From the information that you're hearing today, was there a lot of stuff you didn't know about? Yes. So, it is a right, it's our responsibility. We have to. Let's see what supports the most number of students and what services are being offered. So that's what I did. Is every line item pertinent? So, before the council meeting, this is what budget approved. At the bottom here, I know you can't see it, but here's $50,000. This is for intramural. We were going to give it to the campus centers so they have a better idea of how basically human resources. We're not human resources. We're students. And I always talk to Matt. Matt, if we weren't in ASFC, we'd be 4.0, 5.0 students. Seriously. Why are we here? I want to study. For those who were transferring, congratulations. But this has taken so much of our time. It's always been there. Here's a close-up. Always been there. Never took it out. So, the story that you got, it's being cut, was wrong. It was false. It was fear. Go get Joe. Go get budget. No, we have always supported it. But you were never told that, were you? You were just given, here, oh, this is going to get cut. No, it's going to get cut. So, after the council meeting, we augmented it. So, still there. This is what I was looking at. This is the historical. From 1991 to 2007. I went to Sarisha's office. Let me go see all the numbers going all the way back. You see nothing from 2008 or 2006 to 2010 because the school took care of it, right? It wasn't on our books. Here is what happened. So I was the student at large during this time. And we were saying, here, you have to approve this. We trust the advisor, we look to them, and they have a fiduciary and custodial responsibility to tell us the truth and give us the options when we need it. If your salary jumped from here to here, that would be awesome. But this is your money. Why did we spend this much extra and what we're doing right now? Think about it. It's all in the graphs. It's all in the numbers. Okay, but it includes benefits. All right, fine. Here's the benefits in the blue. Here's the salary. Here's the benefits. It's still a jump. All right, let's look at the year-over-year growth. Okay, 3.9. Okay, here. And then, bam, 150%. If your salary jumped 150%, meaning double time and a half, right? Because you get your salary and it jumps 150%. It's awesome. But why? Annual increase was 212. The U.S. GDP, 2%. And the U.S. GDP in 2011 only grew to 3.8%. Faster than the entire economy. All right, when the budget request came in, this position was created and funded by ASFC since its inception from 1991 to 2006. We're supposed to believe this. 53, but why did it jump? These are the things that kept on bugging me. Why did it jump? This was written by our advisor. This was the student's activities request, not by me. Why? Were we ever, but it includes the volunteer center. Fine. It includes the volunteer center. Were we ever liable for the volunteer center? Let's look at it historically. Never, 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 and then no. Because we brought up discussion this year, no. But this is the issue. This is the smoking gun. Why? Okay, let's read what our advisor wrote. The intramural coordinator was created by the ASFC in 1990. True. We're paying for it. We're still paying for it. And it was funded by the students. Cool. In 2002, the college, Foothills College, added the volunteer coordinator position and provided funding for that portion, not the students. We have been supporting it at around the $50,000 level since inception, and we will continue, and we're still committed to it. That is the original number. AFC continued to fund the intramural portion of the position at 50%. No, we did not. We funded it at 100%. Do not be fooled. We were never, ever responsible for the additional 50,000. We were responsible for the intramural 50. But I'm just going to make round numbers. So we will fund it. We did not fund it at 25. We funded at 50, which is 100%. It's all in the numbers. Do not be bamboozled. All right. Let's go back in time. I was a student at large at 2011, 2012 when all this drama happened. All right? This is the original spreadsheet without the intramural programs and volunteer because the school took care of it. They didn't alert us about the budget cuts yet. So we spent the time. Okay. Then, when we got the information, we scrambled in one meeting to redo everything. Right? We had to redo everything. We had to allocate for, basically, there was the student activity secretary and the intramural. Right? We revised the budget. We got another 80 and another 112. Now, if from what I told you in the past, it's only 50. How did it jump to 112? But yes, like you said, the volunteer portion. We were never responsible for the volunteer portion. It was the college that cut the volunteer portion, not us. They added it, they cut it. Why do we do it? I buy a house. You're my friend. Is it your responsibility to help me for my house? No. Or was there a conflict of interest? Why they wanted to keep the position? We were never told about historicals, even in the previous spreadsheets. Notice how it's blank. What it was before. Never told in the past. I was just curious enough because I wanted to make a chart and make it look nice and show you how awesome I am as budget commissioner. But these things started popping out. The question was silenced. I got pushed around. No documentation. No nothing. No, it's always been like that, so don't mess with it. No, you're going to lose all these programs if you do it. But what was the information we heard today? It didn't come from me. It's different. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Scare tactics. My way around. Where did it come from? We cut Welcome Week, we cut fall activities, we cut Olive Card, we cut cultural awareness, we cut the bus trip, the new student orientation, whatever. Take it from fund balance, another 136,000. We used, and so basically, we had 342 minus 136, we only have 206,000. Where is the conflict of interest, you ask? Joe, you're lying. Well, let's hear. Social science 79 class, I took it. Now, our advisor teaches this class. But what's the connection between the advisor and the volunteer center? You need to meet twice with the volunteer student coordinator, at least twice during the quarter, to review your service contract. So basically, saving his job saves her job. Is that the reason? That's the conflict of interest. So this is it. This is our class in 79 or the 79 class. So you You guys can get copies of it, or better yet, I'll send it to all of you. Now the article 11 with the ACE regarding the layoffs. Is it another piece of article that was used to tell us, wait, you cut that position, all this stuff is going to happen? Well, it's been clarified today that yes and no, right? The truth really isn't there. The truth that was given to us was to support an agenda, not for the students. Salary as a percentage of all our money that comes in, all right? So 10, 9, 9, 9, 9, 15, 23. So it jumped. These are the numbers that popped out at me. Here is the growth rate again. Bam! If that was your salary, that'd be really cool. The percentage of total student money versus salary. Less and less money is getting spent directly on you. We used to give out blue books for free and Scantrons up for free. Where's it going to now? You're right? Wouldn't you like that? That's during dead week or finals, what if we give blue books to everybody? See what helps the most people. So, the claims I'm making is that the budget isn't the issue. The budget is the smoking gun for misappropriation of student funds within ASFC's finances for personal ASFC benefit. Why? Because it benefits that class. Second, intimidation and retaliation. I'm already getting intimidated now. I'm already getting retaliated. Where are the people that were here at that last meeting? That was crazy. That was the best attended meeting in the history of ASFC. Was it coordinated? Yes, it was. How come it's just us again? This is getting interesting. The ASFC Advisor used official position to influence, oppose, intimidate, threaten, and to coerce other students. I'm getting it from other people. I'm hearing disparaging remarks. You know who you are. To intimidate me. Regarding getting this information out to the trustees. Better yet, on the April 30th meeting, when I asked to bring this information to the trustees, it was the advisor herself who motioned not to go straight to vote and not go to the trustees. You seconded Diane's vote. Remember your motion, Diane? Yes, you do. Who seconded when I asked? It was our advisor, right, Diane? Thank you very much. We had a discussion, a one-on-one discussion with our advisor that she would stay out of the discussions of the salaries. Yet, this is proof positive that there is retaliation and intimidation using her position to push this on the students. The issue is transparency and the misappropriation of funds and bullying. And I'm going to the police. I want you guys to know first, I'm hurt. I cried. I've hurt my grades, all because of this. And I'm leaving. It's not going to help me. None of this helps me. This helps you guys. And when I hear remarks from the young guys who don't know me, who don't know how I've helped you guys, and I'm trying to get money to you guys, I don't know why I'm doing this. I really don't. The law is above ASFC law. This is the supremacy clause of the United States Constitution and the state. So, going back to what I'm talking about. Misappropriation of funds, intimidation, retaliation, and using an official position to intimidate. Here is the laws that it breaks. California Penal Code 506-514, Embezzlement. California Education Code 234, Safe Place to Learn Act. I'm hurt. That's why you hardly see me there anymore. I'd rather just stay at KCI. That's where I'm at. California Education Code 87160, California Whistleblowers Protection Act. Interfering with the right to disclose information of the budget process to the District Board of Trustees. This information I can no longer hold here at Foothill. I apologize. But this is going to the police and the district attorney. This is no longer a fight I can handle. I'm too hurt, and these are the numbers that you see. I have all the numbers if you want. The budget is the budget. There's no use discussing it. Steve's job is safe. The programs are safe. The question was, were we being manipulated to spend more? Yes, we were. The reason our advisor says it's not a responsibility for the pertinent information is to confuse, is to manipulate, is to say no. That's not the way it's done, and we have no documentation. When I asked to continue the budget deliberation process, she said no, it has to happen before this time. It wasn't until I asked for the document, the budget document, which I've never seen before, and saw it in the bylaws itself. No, you have until May to talk about things, to slow down the process. But if you look at the budget process, an alert is given out in December. You got 2 weeks to make a decision. Faculty and school and students make a decision as soon as you can, and then blow through the process as soon as we can, without discussion, without basically auditing what we're supposed to do. Like Denise went, is the money that we have going to affect the most kids?
No.
No.
Definitely not.
It's for a personal agenda.
May I also add that you present the survey by Anthropology. That is a survey of over 350 students that shows what student interests are, which was not allowed for us to show during the budget meeting.
Why?
We saw
So
that they
I went to the Center of Anthropology and says, you got to do me a favor. The things that are being used against us is basically a document from 2002 saying that everybody loves intramural. It's not intramural. It was the fact that we're not giving the truth. I was just asking questions. So I'll just jump to the end. But basically, these are the things that they took a survey of 319 people. And of course, there's always going to be errors in surveys, right? But then remember, this is finally another part of the campus, not just athletics. Now remember, athletics gets $30,000 plus any benefits that they get from Steve's labor. God bless them. I'm all for them. Let's do it. But have we moved too much to one side? Well, let's see.
You're going to give a minute and wrap up 30 seconds.
Okay. Academic services ranks if they bucketed 1 to 3 and the rest are 7 through 10. Everybody wants academic services, transfer center, tutorial, some health services. But look at this. So even the newspaper idea is shot. Okay, fine. But this is a survey done not 5 years ago, not a year ago, 2 weeks ago. This stuff is hot.
This is 2 weeks before the budget.
2 weeks before the meeting started.
Can you go to that image at the top with all the words? Yeah. Can you explain that to us?
No. This is just a good thought that they did of how many questions they asked regarding the library. So they asked a lot of questions about the library, but then they also had all these they also weighted it correctly.
What do you mean weighted it?
Depending on so basically they asked 2 questions about the library. So do you want a library extended from 7 to 9, and do you want a library on the weekends also?
Okay.
So it's 2 different questions.
With 10 seconds.
So that's the issue. You're gonna get no argument from me with the budget. The budget is the budget.
Can everybody get a copy of that?
Oh yeah, I will send all this stuff to you.
Time. So we have approximately 35 minutes left. Is there anybody else that would like to speak regarding the budget? Any information that has not already been shared with us today?
Yes.
This is information that we have not heard
Yes,
today.
this is information that you have not heard today.
Okay.
I would like everyone to know, as of right now, that last year, when I decided to vote abstain, I'll explain why, and I think I have explained to anybody in the student government. I did not know anything about the budget process. I was not even involved. Ladies and gentlemen, the people who told me about it was Gustavo Akamora, the student body president, and Jason Ma, who was the VP of finance. They called me and told me to come into their offices because they had felt that what they did was wrong. And then when I went forward to ask our advisor, I was told that everything was sure up. And I was told also, and I didn't know at the time, I didn't know what the facts were. So I could never vote in my own interest because something I basically think in my head. But she told me, because of the way the rules worked, that we had to move forward as soon as possible. And after I went forward to learn more information, because I am a student, I was a student trustee, and I do have contact information of people who are important, they told me no. And when I brought that forth to the student council, she refuted that. She refuted the fact that we can continue through the process, deliberate, go over the actual the information clearly so everybody can understand it. And she said we must go to budget. I think it was like May, sometime in May. But from what my understanding was, that was not true. And furthermore, I asked for more information. And I voted abstain because I never received any of it. Until this year, until all this push, it took that much work. And you should ask yourself right now, how do you feel about that? And you should ask right now, what do you want now? So you know next time when you go over this budget and you go through it, even if you're in the budget commission, how much information do you feel like you should be given to you? And shouldn't that information be given to you from the beginning? We should not have to ask for the information if you're supposed to be working with us. And that was the smoking gun, and that's what I saw, and I reported that to you guys. And anybody here who's in this meeting right now, what was I called? A jerk. What was said about me? You were told I was fighting against you. You were told I was trying to shut down your programs. I was trying to tell you the truth because I had the ability, and when I ran for this position, I told you I would get in a place, meet people who I could go to and share the information with you. Thank you. And I just want you all to know that.
Please. Just because I think it's important for everybody to understand the information. Joe gave us a 20-minute presentation. Because we as a body have decisions to make regarding our money, the accuracy regarding the information that he gave us is a legitimate concern.
Absolutely.
And I'm confused as to how we go forward. I mean, I don't want people voting. It would be bad for people. It would not be the correct approach for people to vote based on the information they just heard, solely based on that information heard, because he's raising legal concerns. He's raising all of these concerns. I'm confused. It's almost like this is beyond us.
Can I respond?
No, you may not. I'm asking Denise.
I would say you need to focus first and foremost on getting your budget done. I mean, that needs to be done before you're going this year. Then we are going to need to start dealing with some of this and do an investigation, is what I would have to say at this point in time. There's a lot of information here, a lot of new information to me, pretty serious, accusations that I think we need to investigate. Joe obviously has in mind what he's going to do, and we're going to have to deal with this and decide how we're going to handle this. Because as I say, this is the first time I've seen all of these put together. But based on this kind of information, as Joe says, he's not really talking about the budget, he's talking about the process, he's talking about some personnel issues. So I think we need to separate out the issues, and say that we have a budget issue, we need to deal with, you have a lot more information today, you can talk about it a lot more, you can take some more time to make some decisions and decide what you want to do. So we have the budget issue one, the process and the code issue, and deciding how we're going to be dealing with that, and make some changes to make sure we get this information. Then we have the personnel issue that we're going to have to deal with, because your advisor does have rights as a faculty member here at the college as well. So I can't just say, oh yeah, we're going to do, what we're going to
have 30 minutes left in this meeting. We can choose to table the rest of the information on the budget, postpone. Going forward, I don't see what other information can be given to us regarding advisors and all this stuff. So it must be solely about the 2012-13 budget regarding our decision that we have at hand. I'll call you out of order if you are not sticking to that.
I just want to say one thing. The first thing, I want to thank Denise Sweat. I'd like to thank the Honorable Courtney also. This is very important, and I think the way you went about this, this is all I wanted. I never cared about the salaries because I work with Steve Mitchell, and I work with a lot of people at the student government, and I'm known to call Daphne my second mom. And I would like people to know that this is all I wished. I wished that we could meet and discuss it. It didn't matter what happened to the budget or where the money went. It was the fact that you guys all deserve the right to hear clearly the facts. We are all adults. We are grown men and women in here. We're not kids, but I feel we were treated as kids. But thank you very much. Thank you.
The original goal here was to go over this at some point. We have no time for that. And I think that we've all been retired, I would imagine, and we have a lot of information. And yes, Antonia?
Can I make a motion to table this, or to table the budget, or postpone until our next meeting on Thursday?
We're not voting on this today.
No, we're not. Yeah.
We can
Yeah,
Just
this
table the rest of it.
continue.
So table then?
Yeah, because we're tired. We have to go back.
We have possibly 3 meetings. Possibly.
I've got a question there. Can I dismiss myself for International Night early Thursday if not possible? I have International Night meeting for fashion chair and the whole International Night committee thing, and I need to leave myself, or at least 30 minutes early due to the fact that I have to meet for fashion chair and at the same time meet all chairs before the meeting before you guys leave.
Immediately.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to leave really soon.
Matthew?
Is this the discussion under the budget next week?
We have no motion.
There was a motion made.
It's not.
What is your motion?
Oh, I motion to postpone the budget until our next meeting.
Well, we were never going to vote.
You'd be tabling discussion on it.
The motion that I need from you is to adjourn early because we haven't finished the agenda.
Or table discussion on this item under new business. Continue with the agenda.
Can I motion to adjourn today's meeting?
Wow.
Second?
Wait.
Second by Joe. Moving on to discussion.
I don't think there's discussion on that.
I have a.
Sorry.
Okay. Yes. Moving on to a vote. All those in favor of ending the meeting, please signify by saying